saying, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. Alright, so this live oak here, this is the Candler oak. That used to be Candler Hospital behind them. That tree is over 300 years old. It spans 110 feet by 54 feet, and it is just flourishing. Now you'll notice a lot of the Spanish moss that's hanging from the trees. Spanish moss is my favorite, but it's not a moss at all, it's an air plant. Now the colonists used to use it. They would stuff their pillows and beds with it, but I would not recommend you folks grabbing off a chunk of it and putting it in your suitcase to take home for your Savannah souvenir, because you're liable to get more than you bargained for. Spanish moss often has chiggers in it, and if you've ever had chiggers, you know you never want them again. That old saying, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite, I'm quite certain that came from the colonists that used it for their bedding. Now on our left is the Wesley Monumental Methodist Church. Now that was dedicated to John and Charles Wesley. They're the founders of Methodism. Now as I come into Calhoun Square, we're going to come off this concrete pad and it's going to be a bump. When we get into the square though, I want you to look back. You'll see the front of this church. It is just gorgeous. Oh, they put flowers on the door. And I do have to laugh because they did paint their doors red, and I wonder if they're trying to tell the whole world that their mortgage is paid in full. Some of these homes here have plaques on them, and they have the year that the home was built. So it's almost as if we're traveling back in time, 1855 right there. These are the same structures that were here then. They just have a few, maybe some modern upgrades to them. Now we're crossing over Jones Street again. Jones Street, like left and right, you'll see the live oaks canopying it, the brick pavers. Jones Street was awarded by Southern Living magazine as one of the top 10 most beautiful walkable streets in the United States. I promise you, it runs west to east across the historic district. On the western side, the pavers are still red color, but it is beautiful. It is Now we're coming up to stop number 6. This is the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist. It is beautiful. It was built in the 1800s, nearly completely destroyed by a fire in 1889. Then it was rebuilt in 1900, and then remodeled in the year 2000 to the tune of $11 million. Now, when we make it through this traffic signal, on your right, past this house, there's going to be a playground. And it's a little ironic because it used to be a dueling ground where two men, if they had an issue, they would stand back to back. They would walk 10 to 12 paces and turn around and fire. Now the winner, they got to walk away. The loser, well, looky there, they didn't have far to go. There's Colonial Park Cemetery. Now in the center of this cemetery is a 4-post monument to Button Gwinnett. And Button Gwinnett was one of the Georgia signers of the Declaration of Independence. Now he lost his life due to a leg wound he received in a duel. The duel wasn't right there, but it was here in Savannah. Now when you, the gates there, they close those gates at 8 o'clock, and that's a wonderful cemetery to walk through. Another cemetery that we have close by is called Bonaventure Cemetery. I love that cemetery. The most peaceful, beautiful cemetery I've ever been to. It's down on the water, and they close the gates for Bonaventure at 5 o'clock. And they do offer tours there that you guys can get, especially a nighttime tour. Now coming up on our left, there's our fire bell. Now we call that Big Duke in memory of Marmaduke Hamilton. That fire bell cost about $2,300. It weighs 5,500 pounds. And how that would work back then, the squares were numbered. So if the fire was in square 10, well, they would ring that bell 10 times to tell the firemen where to go. Coming up on our right, you're going to see a bed and breakfast with flags outside of it, ballast and in. Beautiful bed and breakfast. This is where Kevin Spacey stayed when he filmed the movie Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Next to it is the Juliette Gordon Low birthplace. She was born in that home on Halloween night in 1860. She founded the Girl Scouts in 1912, and she passed away in 1927. And one of the many benefits we have living here in Savannah, well, we get Girl Scout cookies all year long. heard on the radio that they have a new Girl Scout cookie they're coming out with. I don't remember the name, it was Toasty something, but it's supposed to be like French toast sticks. So there you go. Another 300 calorie a cookie thing, I'm sure.
You heard it here first.
Now coming up in front of us, the columns and statue, that building there, that was Alexander Telfair's home. When he passed away, he left it to his spinster sister, Mary Telfair. When Mary Telfair passed away, she left it to the Georgia Historical Society. But remember, she's Our Lady of Stipulations. So she told Georgia Historical Society, you can have my entire home as long as you promise to keep it a art museum.